So g'day guys, we're just doing a bit of a review on a new product. I'm here with Adrian with Australian Muscle, and we've just been basically wanting to get on top of a new one that we've just put in. So Nourish is the new product that we've brought in today, and we've got our resident expert in Adrian too to help with this one, and basically run through why I made it, how I made it, ingredients, and geek out on some of the fun ones in here. So. Yeah, look, I guess diving in the usual format, why it was made.
First of all, I'm going to go away. What is Nourish?
What is it?
What is Nourish?
Okay, so I guess this was something that I made because I'm pretty time poor, and I always found that it was quite hard to get something decent on the road, and in particular whilst busy and trying to get a half decent attempt at staying on track nutrition wise. That there was never really any decent sources of there's nothing nutritious that you'd actually want to eat whilst on the go. So I made it because I was always very time poor, but wanted to still have something actually decent for me to eat in a quick, convenient format.
Of course,
I can't always cart around a NutriBullet in the bonnet, so I thought let's make something that's actually really good for you, quick and easy, that I can have on the go. And it sort of morphed into this final format where I made something made from all the usual foods I'd eat, like sweet potatoes, oats, coconut water, blueberries, broccoli, kale, all the classic things you'd see in a meal prep. And I just powderized it basically and made it something that I could actually have whilst out on the go. So it took a good few months once I realised how hard it is to flavour these things.
Of course.
In this format, it was meant to launch December, which at the time of this video is 4 months ago. So it did take a few more months than I planned. But yeah, essentially it's just powdered food.
Okay, fair enough. So speaking of powdered food, obviously you did touch base on carbohydrates, fat, and obviously there is a protein source as well.
Bingo.
Now the first thing I noticed is this is a plant-based meal replacement.
It is.
But it wasn't formulated as a plant-based meal replacement, was it? It just happened to turn out that way.
It did, which was really quite fun because I had a huge demand in my customer base. People wanted a plant option in the Primabolics range. I had 10 products at this stage, but I still hadn't been able to offer any of my vegan or vegetarian or people who just didn't digest whey that well.
Of course, yeah. So
many bros that have gone too heavy on cheap concentrates and and blends that have and they're having digestive issues and bloating. Particularly when people are stressed as well, I find they struggle with bloating and digestive issues, particularly around lactose. So I wanted to tick that box, so the digestive part for people who can't do whey. And also be my sort of first intro into the plant market to help satisfy that part of my customer base that were after a plant-based part. But I managed to get a really nice diverse, I guess, the protein source being mainly pea in this one, but I managed to get a bit more diverse as well, throwing in some collagen peptides like hydroxyproline, proline, glycine. As well, because I found that was something that was lacking in a lot of people, particularly vegetarian and vegans, in their diet, right? Especially
in vegan diets, they've collagen being the connective tissue, joints, ligaments, soft tissue, ligaments, and obviously if you're in a vegan or vegetarian diet, your diet is naturally going to be less in those ingredients. So that hydroxyproline and glycine, they are the amino acids that make up of collagen. So your body's going to produce its own collagen and start the repair function, of course.
Beautiful. We're feeding that. Yes,
excellent.
And it's a significant part of our, our connective tissue is responsible for generating like 30% of our power, of our actual force. A lot is overlooked with the fascia and connective tissue and ligaments. These things used to be thought of as just a dormant sock for the actual muscle itself, but we're starting to realise now there's a lot more evidence coming out that fascia and connective tissue is very interactive with muscle building. You've got a lot of your inflammatory signalling coming from the fascia and how that actually helps. So having something having some a collagen donor there to help repair that, as well as having the protein there to repair the actual meat, gives you a much more complete sort of recovery fuel, I suppose, and a much more complete amino acid profile too. So I guess the plant part was almost by default. I got a really cracker amino acid profile out of the organic pea isolate I used. Then enriched it with the extra sort of collagen peptides, and I was really stoked with how it sort of came together. I had a really quite good amino acid profile out of it. So that sort of covered that angle of the panel. And then we've got the carbs.
Yes, of course.
Fun stuff. Good old carbs. People are often afraid of carbs, but I thought, making a meal replacement, a lot of the time I found the one area that I thought, because that's what I used to use when I didn't have time. You'd look for things like that, and I see a lot of my customers before using things like the Whey Ripped or coming into a store like this and looking for protein powders, they would use stuff like Slim Fast, OptiFast. They'd use the
maltodextrin is sugar-based
soy proteins, and like just really, it's just cheap fillers. And you look at the per 100 grams, some of these are like 30-40% maltodextrin,
of course,
20% protein per 100, and you're like, how is this a product? So like when I made something that was actually going to be used as a meal replacement, I'm like, let's give these people something decent. Let's make something nutritious with like antioxidants, polyphenols, electrolytes. Let's make something great. So like in this particular context, the carbohydrate side I found quite important, because that was always just done with cheap sugars. And that's the least useful thing you want. It's just a quick insulin dump and you feel rubbish later. So I thought with these, I went sweet potato and oats as a really nice, largely digestible sort of sauce that sit really well with a lot of people. But also sweet potatoes, a really nice nutrient-dense sort of carb source, quite high naturally in potassium as well. Then I threw in the coconut water powder on top, again, because I feel that's an overlooked part of the equation. Having really, really quite high potassium and really micronutrient dense carbs in there, not just cheap fillers, I thought that was a nice point of difference. So people aren't just getting a quick sugar spike for their energy, they're actually getting something solid. But I went the step further on it because I thought I want to actually make sure that I want to actually make this get the most bang for your buck. I want to make sure it's utilised as much as I can. So I then added in a bit of a glucose disposal blend in there as well.
I was looking at that, the cinnamon bark, chromium pick, of course. Cinnamon. A lot of people when I used to start it out, I used to put cinnamon in oats.
Yes.
Like a gram of that, just like to help with insulin sensitivity and obviously blood sugar clearance.
Definitely.
And chromium pick has been around for 30 years now.
Oh, it's amazing.
Just for insulin sensitivity as well, cleaning off the receptors to get the body primed and ready to shuttle that fuel into the muscle cell. So it is great to see something with like a whole food-based carbohydrate coupled with that insulin driving ingredients is to really help muscle glycogen replenishment as well.
It is, which is what carbs are for. I guess if you want to actually utilise them, if you want to make use of them, you need to you want to make sure it's doing its job. And a lot of people I found, it's sort of a safeguard too, because a lot of people, particularly when you're stressed, if you're dieting hard, if you're training hard, so a lot of the time, a lot of people are insulin resistant. Insulin resistance is a really big problem.
It is a big thing. It is a very, very big thing.
We're seeing it more and more commonly now. Like type 2 is becoming almost an epidemic in itself. With type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance in many forms. We're seeing it a lot with female athletes too, with PCOS and other sort of insulin-driven lifestyle diseases and so on. So what I wanted to do was make sure, even if people are, have issues dealing with carbohydrates, or even, if they're a bit nervous seeing carbs on a panel, as I think a lot of consumers,
a lot of people are,
we're gun shy with carbs, right? So I thought, look, let's rest assured that there is some carbohydrates, but it's complex, nutrient-dense carbs, and here's something to help shuttle it in. They just push it into the muscle for you. So it's going to be almost guaranteed that it's used for good.
Yes, of course,
even if that person isn't that great at dealing with sugars, even if that person is a bit scared of carbs, we can at least now go, don't worry. This is going to help actually make it useful. This is going to help drive nutrient partitioning so it actually gets used as energy and not stored as fat, which is what everyone seems to think carbs do.
Carbs are scary.
Carbs are scary. They're the devil.
Going down the list, we've also got the antioxidant blend, the S7, green coffee bean, green tea, blueberry, broccoli, kale, all that sort of stuff. That's obviously added in there to, round out that panel, of course. Phytonutrients, micronutrients. They're lacking in the traditional Gen Pop diet these
massively,
days. Especially in meal replactions. If you you said your OptiFast, you won't see a greens blend. You won't see polyphenols.
No,
you won't see insoluble fiber. To help with everything. But that is all in here, which is great. And is that just used to round out, or is that used in? Did you add that specifically?
I had two thoughts on that one, and I think one was bingo. You're right. There's very low nutrient density in a lot of the things that people use as meals, right? Very much so the case. So a lot of people when they actually do making meal replacements, or if they're in these supplements, it's all macros but no micros. And if they are, they're fortified with synthetic vitamins. So,
of course,
which again has their questions of how bioavailable they are. How useful are these? So, I wanted to get them from organic sources, but that was why those. Now, polyphenols, I seem to find more and more positives to the more I read about them. In their ability to modulate your microbiome, to give you sort of positive effects on body composition, on how you utilise nutrients. Huge range of things. Second part is also S7 is also shown to increase. It's a very strong vasodilator. Increases blood flow massively. Like it was shown to be something like 200% more nitric oxide production than using 7 grams of arginine.
Wow,
Huge, right? Now the reason I want that I wanted to bring blood into the gut because I find a lot of people, again, being stressed, busy, on the go. I find a lot of people have issues with bloating and distension when they're eating. So they're running hot all day. We're living on coffee. We're living on stimulants. Then we sit down and we have a meal, and it generally and we find that when cortisol is present, we're pulling blood out of our digestive system, out of our gut, and into working muscle because our body thinks it's in flight or fight, right? So I'm finding a lot of our consumers, a lot of just people I talk to in stores, really struggle with bloating, and I find a lot of time is they're always in flight or fight mode, and when they throw food in, their body's not in digest and rest and repair mode. So what I wanted to do was let's get some blood flow to the stomach as well to help with digestion. And actually get that process, prioritise that process a bit more. So you've got polyphenols, you've got antioxidants, and also you've got some encouraging some quite strong blood flow as well to aid in digestion and assimilation. So it's it had sort of two parts to it: nutrient density and also a similar sort of nutrient digestion sort of assistance.
Beautiful.
It was a really sort of interesting way of throwing together. But I really enjoy having something that's actually something you'd want to eat. Blueberries, kale, tart cherry. These are really, really nutrient dense sources of polyphenols and antioxidants. So that was a really nice addition that I threw in at a significant expense, that part of the blend, but it really rounds out that formula and has a few extra benefits too. And I guess that leads into the final part of the panel being the fats.
Yeah, going MCT.
Yes, MCT. So I use trademark MCT. Now MCT is a really great one because one, I find a lot of people don't have enough decent fats in their diet, decent sources. There's a lot of saturated fats, but they don't have a great deal in omegas or polyunsaturated. But the MCTs are a nice one because one, a lot of people are using this. I found even in the early few weeks of being out, a lot of people are using it as part of their weight loss campaigns because it's quite low calorie.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And that's what they're using off the theory of if I have this instead of lunch, an average person's lunch might be 500-600 cal just for an average meal,
give or take,
and this guy's 200. So they're going, okay, just by virtue of having this instead of a meal, I'm saving 300-400 calories. That's helping to create a calorie deficit. So a lot of people are using it for weight loss. When we're dieting, I'm finding that a lot of people foggy-headedness, feeling crappy, diet brain, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And MCT's got a beautiful source that our brain utilises them in the form of ketones to function beautifully. Like our body, if you had MCTs before in bulletproof coffees or just by itself, mental function is something that a lot of consumers say is really good.
Yeah.
So it was a really nice angle from that point of view. Crushes appetite quite nicely too.
Yep.
And also again a really nice clean energy source that has very little chance of being stored as fat.
Yes, of course.
So
and that's the best thing about it is MCTs, unlike most fats, fats are 9 grams per calorie, 9 calories per gram. However, MCTs are 7 calories per gram. So they are a faster burning. They're a faster absorbing, faster assimilating fat. So you do get the same bang for your buck, but with less calories. Going back into the ketones type side of things, a lot of people think ketosis, fat burning, exogenous ketones, waste of money, blah, blah, blah. But they are the main driver of neuroplasticity.
Ah, definitely.
So it helps the brain adapt and change and overcome those stresses, coming back to cortisol, as you touched on before. So everything is working to make everything work in unison. It's making the body work as an engine rather than hitting one specific part of another.
Bingo. And making it work as an engine, you're dead right, that's a nice way of putting it, making it work as an engine, but everyone's putting crappy fuel in.
Yes, of course.
And wondering why we're idling rough, And it's a really common thing, we're finding people with low energy, fatigue. The most common thing that people are asking for are energy. They're coming and going, I just want a bit more energy to get through the day. I just want a bit more to help me just get through this workout. And the reason their energy production is so poor is because they haven't got the nutrient availability for their cells to function optimally, to produce energy efficiently. They're not, they're running on E10 when we're not throwing some premium. I guess this is, I made this initially for the time poor, but I found that it's got a million uses now. Apart from being the plant-based and vegan friendly, I also thought, here's something that's actually really good to put in your body. This is something that you'd actually, with antioxidants, naturally occurring electrolytes, insoluble fibre, it's got micronutrients, it's got a really nice balanced macro panel as well. And you can throw it in as breakfast, post-workout, just have throughout the day. Whilst I'm on my travels, I just have it most meals just to fill in because it's actually good for you. So that's sort of the long and short of why I put this together in the first place. Really
beautiful,
unreal.
Yeah, it is a fantastic product. Best way to put it. Long story short, it's a great product. It's called Nourish for a reason.
How much?
And then costings wise, I suppose we look at diet brain. This one here retails at 79, and 79 for 18 serves. Now, if you're also calorie conscious, so it's 215 calories on the panel. If you want to go ultra low cal, one scoop is only in the 107 cal mark, so similar to what you'd see in isolate. And there is 36 scoops in the tub. So if you want to go the ultra low calorie, you can go the single scoop for 100 odd calories, but the full serve is 2 scoops, and you've got 18 meals in there. So that's for the 79 retail.
Cool.
2 flavors. We've got I have the chocolate. You got the vanilla. And look, in terms of flavouring wise, the really nice thing is when you get a nice thick protein base like a pea protein, you get a nice creaminess from having a good 5 grams of MCTs. You actually get a really nice filling, quite thick and creamy shake out of it. So in terms of if you're wanting something that, if you've used wheys in the past or other protein powders for a meal replacement or to fill in gaps in the diet and found they're a bit light on, find that you're still hungry, pea protein helps a lot with that, and particularly having the insoluble fibre from the oats and the sweet potato. You do find that you've and also the glucose disposal blend there, helping drop that blood sugar. You do find it crushes appetite beautifully.
Beautiful.
You will be, and the MCTs too are working together. So appetite suppression is a really big facet of that too. So you'll feel that you feel like you've actually had a solid meal in this one. So that's another nice perk.
Awesome. Cool.
Beautiful.
So Nourish Primabolics available at Australian Muscle, $79.95. Vanilla chocolate available now.